Hello, Professor. Um, so for my part two of the large assignment number five, I do want to continue on with the previous assignment from large assignment number one, and how I actually just delved a little bit deeper into um, my creative poetry that I wrote upon it, and I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more, really, as to why I went in that direction. Just because I do feel like, yeah, there are a lot of great people out there that are battling plastic pollution. And I think that there's certain parts of plastic pollution that not many people can actually deal with unless we literally cut plastic off. So I'm just going to continue on with just providing you the same poetry. I start by saying, my beautiful ocean that brings calming peace to me, or a beautiful ocean that cycles through a disturbing grief. I once knew the deep blue ocean, the deep blue with dolphins, whales, and coral reefs. Even an ocean should be kept sacred with all its surface level and its widening gaze. The water's depths are inconceivable. Perhaps the toxic pollution is just a phase. Look at the cycle of humanity. No change, more doubly aware of animals with blank stares. Uh, they would they would speak to us if they knew we were the ones to bear this toxic rays. So much confusion they do not deserve, so much plastic we reserve. Harmful us, we prepare and we state we share. Corporate us, convenience rampant, tell us in a report we still care. Government, please stand up. Waste management is at our front door. Trillions of dollars aren't worth the destruction of our nature's core. The odds are insurmountable, and even placing blame becomes a chore. We must seek alternative materials. This is not a deranged lore. So I actually do want to speak upon the targeted audience and actually the examples you provided for us as a class when it just comes to how sustainability is so interconnected. And, regardless if we're able to get over this plastic pollution one day or so, just because, somebody was able to everyone was able to bring together some sort of resource, and yeah, we started putting all the garbage in one country because they're lowerly independent as a country, and they just provided services in that way. But what I mean by that is, starting with school teachers and community activists, I think even in the school realm, I think we should be taught these issues. I don't think that classes should really. I think there are certain classes that make sense to me nowadays in high school and middle school, but I think school teachers should actually genuinely provide references and not references, but real life problems that we're gonna have to be tackling in the future, and that is consistent with many of the sustainability issues. I think that should start at a very young age, just because I think so many people are overwhelmed with these issues today, and it's like, what can we do? And I think once awareness starts at a younger age, I think even that collectivity becomes activity. And I think just like in the next sense, it's community activists. I think that becomes less of a paranormal paradigm shift where people aren't really wanting to speak to those kind of people. And I think, people don't have time in certain areas. So when it comes to community activists, I think holding panels that are regarded in a higher sense, because I think kids nowadays are so much more brighter in many different senses, and they're going to be doing away with a lot of the, I guess we would call it, quote unquote, sins of old men and old women that really don't stake up to what they believe in. I feel like they have so much more of a sense of responsibility than perhaps 30 years ago. And then it continues on with the professionals. I think, what if thousands of employees that work at a plastic company just drop it and say, no, we don't want to work? Like, that would be the most immediate result of like what I feel like is could be responsible to changing. It could go out to networks, TV networks quickly. People will be understanding of it. I think there are many different ways that could provide a company to literally be be bankrupt based off the fact that they're not willing to take up the uprise. They're not willing to take on the responsibility of their own norm. How is a company able to say, that they're fully committed to anything that they do without being fully responsible for the things that they know are true? And so if you're in a report, if you're a manager and you're reporting something that you worked 70 hours on, and it does nothing because you're literally killing another being or killing another soul or killing another animal, which is actually to me starting to become more important because I don't know what is real anymore. And so I think looking at these working class citizens, it's like, yeah, all we have is, convenience, and plastics is convenience. But to a certain degree, I think there are other materials that we're going to have to look at. And I think that starts with actually the people that are providing us with those materials. And I think that starts with the companies. I think the companies are actually the ones that should be in heavy orientation of what is really going on as well. I mean, you can't have somebody speak there and tell them that they coexist with all the other companies and that their bottom line isn't profit. Like, their bottom line is profit at the end of the day. And if that's the so case, then yes, the teaching has to go way back. It has to go to when we're kids, and I think we have to be able to understand all these things. And I think we really have to start understanding who we want to work for, and I think that is what matters, and that's what's going to push and pull certain people in different directions. But I think that's what matters in serious consideration. And the next step I take on is the serious consideration of animals, the ecosystem of animals. In the case of sustainability, I just want to go deeper into how I feel about, just my poetry in general. I think it is serious knowing that we should be responsible for animals. I think taking care of our animals is not just a humane thing to do, but I think it's a response that is connected deeply into our ecosystem. This may sound hypothetical, this may sound sci-fi, but I think once we start taking care of our animals, I think we can really get new materials. I think we get new technology. I think we get new, just based off how if we understand. Like, I just want to go on, prove on, say further. I think so much of sustainability has been derived through interconnections, and that speaking about these things do not make me meager because I've not read enough literature. I think it's in the research papers that I found my cerebral findings to be codified logically. It's just the continuation cycle of um, of improved documented research is impending. Where I think we're supposed to take things out of it, but I also think that once things start to match very thoroughly, you're gonna have to make a choice sooner or later. And I think we want to do that sooner than we want to do that later. Sooner without any results or anything, it has to come from our schooling. It doesn't. We can't just say there's nothing we can do. I think that there's parts of me that is just really pulling me to say, we gotta really look out for these animals because there's a cerebral finding. I say that there's a deeper understanding of animals for their ecosystems that perhaps humans that's better perhaps than humans and our need for Earth. I mean, if you think of it, like really, these animals are so interconnected with their ecosystem. Like, I mean, yeah, we could watch Finding Nemo and understand how that works, but we can also read literature and understand like it gets even deeper than that. And so I think that once you have a understanding of like these animals are naturally recipients of something much deeper than just logical processing. And I think that's something we have to really dive deep into as sustainability professionals. Um, I think this finite detail of where was I? I think this finite detail can be understood even more clearly without the detriments of things like plastic clogging up every part of their body as well. I mean, you have thousands and millions of these birds and animals that are, relocating in different areas, and so many different animals are, flying at schools and things of that nature. Why wouldn't these animals not, provide toxicity to wherever they're traveling? And so that makes me think, like, are we becoming, more degraded as a society because we do live among animals? It's not. it's not just there, and that they just, we do take care of them and we oversee them, I believe, as well. But I think there are certain things that, if we properly care for the animals, it's not just a bit of me saying it's a bit. Like, I think you really gotta, we really gotta do something to step up there, because um, while it's not a laughable topic, it's not. I don't think it's a conceivable topic. Um, so I think when that happens, I find myself asking what creativity can spark the way for an all-out change. Um, does it come from people in power? I've seen nonprofit organizations do the most in banding together and cleaning up beaches, providing awareness, um, getting people together, just genuinely telling them, like, this is how things are going. But how often can a person or group of people tell some of the strongest organizations, take the US government, for example, that these are serious facts, that you and I agree, I feel like that you and I would genuinely agree in, that we must stop, and we must stop it now. Like, I feel like that is such a, that's not a normal culture, and I feel like that's going away from what our democratic or republic situation is. But it's like, even in that sense, you don't really hear about it, not for the stand of justice. I mean, there's a corporate cloud that I think everything becomes diluted to. But you know what? I think that there is something that should be really profound in finding things that, collectively just build up, and you go, that's so terrible, that's so terrible, and that's so terrible, and that's so terrible, and then nothing happens without going to the people that we find that we should find protection in, that we should find some resilience from. And if we can't go anywhere and we build labor or unions, and we build you know groups of people, it's only going to go far with that quantity amount of people. It's like, you're literally going back to neoliberalism, kind of, and just being able to, like, have people say that there's so much issues going on. I think that if there are millions of people saying that they want something to be changed, and that a billion people can agree with that, millions of people, if that were the case, like this, I would say that there should be um, a serious case where, yeah, it's not just a nitpick of, you can't do this, you can't do that, because their pockets behind something. I think it's more so because, yeah, this is how it should be and this is how it should go. We're all gonna die from this garbage waste, literally, if you don't do anything. Like, I think the dead thing is thrown out too so much, because that's not creative. That doesn't sound creative. Like, we're all just gonna die. We're all just gonna die, and that's okay. Like, that's that creative mode. That's not. I don't even think that's a personal responsibility on behalf of somebody that's trying to go against plastic pollution. You can't just say, "Oh, we're all just gonna die, and that's gonna be it." Like, there has to be a becoming of the. Perhaps it is the government. Perhaps it's a larger panel, such as, the many panels, the United Nations, the EPA, many of the different kinds of sustainability panels that exist. How are they going to be able to communicate these issues dynamically to a world group of people that, for all intents and purposes, can make it happen immediately? Um, that's my case. My case is, creatively speaking, things happen organically, and those routes are actually mightily well done. It's just, unless if we're not taking care of things quickly and fastly, doing business as usual is going to become such a norm to so many people that, even the kids that, wanted to go to the marine aquatic center, they don't get to see that whale anymore. They don't get to see that, they don't get to see that, and perhaps that might not make sense to certain people, but I think there's a genuine response when kids love animals, Um, and let's see. So I also said that, how many times is the logical human process went out immediately with sweeping effect. And you know how that goes as well. It does become a lawyership. It does become a heightened awareness of how well you can speak. I don't think there needs to be room for that. But I also think that, yeah, if you do have all of these nonprofit organizations willing to band together, then perhaps that's the best way to go. And creatively speaking, I would want to approach this in the most direct way, in the most unsenile way, um, because most of the creative expressions that I found are extremely effective, and that would be through documentaries, um, and most relevant YouTube videos, and just walking out and seeing these images, walking out and seeing these availabilities in places where it's cleaner, and then looking at how deep that gets to a third world country, and me not feeling bad about it is like just a poof. I know. I think it does matter to me as well, and I feel it. I feel it. I think there needs to be a serious reconsideration when it comes to corporations and how much involvement the government has. I wouldn't say the ties of capitalism should be cut short, because everyone has the freedom of selling something. Everyone does. I mean, the worst comes to worst, like, you know what I mean. Like, I think everyone has the willing should have the willingness to sell anything, but when there needs to be not only a strong policy enactment, but that there is a safe provide of policing when materials have turned into killing machines. I kind of mean the same thing, but more so in the fact that I like to look at this as a parallel to, like, allowing people who smoke cigarettes to smoke around any kind of kid, any kind of child. I find this the same kind of parallel. I find it like, we're bolstering convenience even more so, to the fact that we say, hey man, we just really don't care. We're just gonna it's just gonna be something that happens, and if that thing happens, that happens. And the rollout effect is, yeah, we can recycle everything. We can recycle everything, but their statistics are built up to the point where it's like we're only recycling 10%, where it should be 90%. And so, like, I don't find how any part of this is being consistent with social integrity. I think this is consistent to being able to do something about it, and do something strictly and quickly and swiftly, and to be able to do this in a way that can provide results for other sustainability problems. Sustainability problems are not matching at all, and they don't exist within each other, but they also are very detrimental, where they can be killing us more effectively by providing many, 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 many ways of doubt, and many, many ways of inconsistencies. I think if we were able to solve this plastic pollution issue as a whole, then I think we can solve many different situations, such as deforestation. I think that becomes a prominent factor, because maybe the alternative material for this case is that it's going to be paper materials that comes out on top. Um, if you do have that livelihood, you're going to have to know that, like, there's always a next step to a problem. So if the work ethic is there, obviously there are people doing certain things right. And I think we have to have that sense of direction. I think we have to be able to know that something is solvable as big as this. As big as this, it has to be solvable, or else, well, what else can we look towards being able to say we can stand up for something and say, hey, look, that's a doable project that we want to get rid of. Um, I know that there's so much resources going to, like, CO2 emissions. Renewable energy is paving the way, and that consistency is coming, and I know it. Um, and so that's going to allow so much eventuality to what sizable truth isn't out there. Once I think that happens, and then I think saying, "Oh, it's okay for this to happen," still is not something that we should really look towards. Um, and so I just think that's the companies that should go further, making sure that their sustained practice in business is also met with a full commitment to waste management. That's my bottom line. I think waste management should be a serious priority in all of this, and I think if they don't have a serious priority in it, to make full room for or actually to dissolve any unnecessary waste based off their own products. Um, I think we as a capitalist society have a long way to go, and I think it's eventually going to be defeated in that sense too. And as far as capitalism has gone and how good it does produce goodwill nature, consumerism has caught up to capitalism, and I think that wave is starting to kill us in many unintended consequences. I would say thank you for your time in that sense, Professor. That is my creative mold, and I bid you farewell. Thank you.